Hey everybody, it's Always Bookin Comedy. It's Monday night. We got Dewayne White in from Washington D.C. and we're starting early. So don't worry if you're just getting on. Fast forward to the live part. We're both here, and I figured I'd jump on. I drove 18 hours yesterday, slept in my car for 4 hours, and then drove another 3.5 this morning. So like I feel like.
Wow.
You ever see like a time traveler movie and the person's all like messed up? Like I feel like a time traveler. It was
Where were you?
I was in Richland, Washington.
Okay.
At the end of a 3-weekend tour. I went from Denver to San Diego, did 3 shows in San Diego, worked my way up the coast, hit where I hit San Francisco, Sonoma, what else was up there? Vancouver, Washington, which is, I thought it was Portland. It's basically like a bedroom community to Portland.
Really?
Eugene, Oregon, and then Seattle for a couple nights. That was real nice. Got to sleep in an actual bed. Then it was like 50-50, like car camping, which it's not as bad as it sounds. Like I have an actual bed. I got it dialed in. Other than last night was terrible. But the other nights I slept very comfortably. It was great.
I haven't done the sleeping in my car much yet.
It's I mean it's a big money saver for sure.
I know, but man,
I could probably afford to get a hotel some of these nights, but it doesn't feel like I'm trying to motivate myself to make more money.
Yeah, for real. Yeah,
like I'm getting paid $50, I don't feel or nothing, which is the case sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't feel like I should be buying myself a hotel room. I really want to get gigs where the booker is, getting me a hotel room.
For sure. Absolutely. Those are the best or the worst, depending. I've gotten some really bad hotels that way.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I have a whole chunk about bad hotels with
my gosh.
gigs. Look at that. I have your name wrong in the title. There's the
capital
really?
W. With the capital W. It happens all the time, man. That W just grows and
fix
grows
it before the algorithm gets a hold of it. Let's fix that real quick. Done. Okay. And so what I was going to say was the sleeping in the car is actually, it's actually pretty beneficial sometimes. Like I had 2 days to get to San Diego. It's like a 19-hour drive. Yeah. And so if I had a hotel, I'd be limited on where I could stop. But I basically just drove until I was exhausted and slept for 7 hours then.
I don't know. For me, it's just like I couldn't do it because there's like so many years in the Army I slept in vehicles.
Right.
On the ground. I'm like, you know what, dude? I'm good.
Yeah.
Hampton Inn it is.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. I like it. San Diego in particular, like I got a great spot. It's like on the beach. It's real pretty when I wake up.
That's cool.
I don't have time for this whole story, but I'll give you the teaser for it. Once I was sleeping there, got there, like parked between all these RVs, get up in the morning. First thing you got to do is take a piss. Yeah. And so like I'm right on the edge of a park. So there's a public restroom. I pop out of my car in my pajamas and sneakers, and none of the RVs are there anymore. And I'm barricaded in by police cars, 2 police cars at the end of the block on each thing. And we only got 10 seconds. I can't tell you the end of the story, but I'll tell you the end of the story. I made a quick calculation. I was like, I need to pee. That's all I can deal with right now. And I ran to the bathroom to pee. And when I came back, everybody, I don't know, come see me live. I'll tell you that story if you ask. And Dewayne, I'll tell you
teaser, dude. Oh my God.
What happened. But it was pretty, boy, did I have a little panic attack. And
wow.
All right. So it's 6:30 in Colorado. So let's kick this off now. We're live. It's Always Bookin Comedy. We got Dewayne White.
What's up?
Great comedian, great show producer. Let's get to know each other.
Here we are. Yeah, let's do it, man.
Are you in DC? Because DC is such a weird place.
So I say I'm from DC. It's like, it's I don't know. It's like every big city. I'm south of DC. I'm in a little town called Woodbridge, which is I'm straight down the highway from it. So that's where.
Is it in the same state or is it in Virginia?
Virginia. I'm actually in Virginia.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about DC. People say they're from DC, but they live in a different state.
Well, we're all right there together. It's like DC, Maryland, Virginia. Nobody knows. Nobody. It's like as a kid, I used to say I was from Dallas, but I was like,
it's like I was just saying, I booked myself in Portland, Oregon, but I ended up being in Vancouver, Washington, and I thought I was going to Portland. I spent the whole day at Pal's Books, and then I like fired up the GPS, and I was like, oh. I'm driving like half an hour, and then I started driving and I crossed a state line. I was like, I'm an idiot.
I've done that many times, dude. Many times. You're like, oh yeah, I'm here, and you're like, no, wait, that city's here. I didn't know Cincinnati was by Kentucky. What are you doing? And so
Yeah,
people there
exactly.
know that, and they just think we're stupid. But it's like,
Yeah.
dude, you don't know if you don't live
Yeah.
there. But yeah,
All
I'm out
right.
here,
So,
man.
how long
It's
you been
great.
doing comedy?
Oh man, about 6 years. I
Okay.
went full time about 3 years ago. So
Okay.
yeah, so doing the thing,
3
man.
years ago, that's like mid-pandemic, right?
No, well, after the pandemic. Yeah,
Okay.
21, I quit my
Coming out
job.
of the
Yeah,
pandemic.
in the May of 21, I quit the job and said,
Now,
I'm
how
not
did that
working that
change
anymore.
things for you? Are you glad you did it? Or do you
Oh my
think you
God,
wish you
it's
had
so
done
much
it sooner
better.
or waited
Um,
longer?
I don't know. I think I it was the timing was great because I was a government employee and I had to be a government employee for 3 years to keep all my money. So the timing was perfect, actually. But yeah, I mean, just from the sanity standpoint, because it was like it was one of those things where it's like I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm finally doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but then you got this whole like job thing where they want you to care, and I
Yeah.
didn't anymore at all. And I was doing like nuclear weapon stuff and things like that. So you need to care more than I did. And yeah, so I was like, it was great. It was the best thing ever happened to me. Freedom wise, all that, and then just being sane and being able to really do what I want to do all the time, which is
Yeah. So what
which is
extra
great.
things do you do with your extra mental
I take
energy?
a lot of naps. It's really nice. Naps are good. You should, if you haven't taken one, you should take one right
I've
now.
been trying to
Well, not
nap
now. Wait
all
till the after.
day. This is a real like my hair's all messed up.
It's
I'm
so
a real
good.
mess today because of the 18-hour drive yesterday.
I had gotten so addicted to naps during the pandemic. I was like, they're the best. Like, why haven't I been doing this for decades?
Yeah.
Because I was at Army, I was like, oh, sleep is a crutch. And, no, sleep is awesome. And
Yeah.
we should do it more. No, just more writing, more, and mostly being able to travel, getting out on the road,
Yeah.
and I spend most weekends I'm somewhere else, unless, just happen to be here. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome.
Do you
It's
almost
great.
always come back or do you ever go out multiple weekends?
Yeah, it depends on how it works out. You know what I mean?
What's the longest? Have you ever gone 3 weekends?
I don't think I've done 3 weekends
Okay.
recently
3 is
that I
my
can
max.
think
I
of.
do it once a year.
Yeah.
I think I could do it more than once a year maybe, but it's I don't feel like I could go more than 3 weekends. There's just too
I'm
much
doing a 3-week tour
life stuff.
in like overseas with Armed Forces Entertainment in November, and that's going to be like 21 days, 17 shows. We're just like go.
Wow.
And I'm super. They're like, yeah, we just give you a bus and a driver, and you guys go places. I'm like,
That's amazing. I mean, I think that might be a little better in the sense that they'll probably handle most of the logistics. They'll be like,
yeah,
eat this, sleep here.
yeah. Here's where you're gonna have food. Here's where you're gonna do things. Yeah,
Right.
logistics is such a time killer, and people don't notice that. It's like, oh, we just show up and do like, yeah, but then you gotta. You're actually trying to like finagle things to fly. Thank God there's no change fees anymore. Can we just say that?
Yeah.
Thank God there's no more flight change fees because that would
Right.
kill me because I changed my flight like 7 times now. It's like, nah, I think 5 minutes earlier would be
Where
better.
do you know what countries you're going to? You going to any hot zones?
Yeah, I think I'm only supposed to say I'm going to be in Europe.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, they
Fair
were
enough.
like, don't say just yet. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
cool.
How does that work? So what? They're planning a specific battle and they're sending you in? No, I mean, how did you
Yeah,
get?
like, hey,
What I
you have
meant
some
by how does that
skills.
work is
You have skills
like
that you from your old days that you could
who's
really
the
use.
Like who books that? Basically, is what I'm asking. How does that work?
Yeah, well, this one is like through it's Armed Forces Entertainment, so it's booked through. They book like different folks. Like they'll have somebody that they're used to working with, and they'll say, hey, can you put a show together for us for this X number of time? And so that dude reached out to me, and next thing you know, he's like, yeah, we want you to go with us. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's pretty easy. I think some people I've talked to have actually like booked the shows, but with
Do you know any of
actual
the other comics yet?
only one, just the person that booked me. So that's
Okay,
that's about the only one
nice.
I know.
Is it somebody
Yeah,
you
it
get
was just
along with? Do you
it's like
think
anything
you'll?
else. It's like a friend of a friend. You talk to somebody and they go, oh hey, I know this guy. He's a military vet. He would be great on your tour. And they go, all right, let's go. And you're like, that was way easier than it normally is. I'm
Right.
not begging you for time. I'm not trying to do these things. So yeah, it was good.
It's got to be a blast because I'll tell you a quick story. I had Carmen Lynch, who's
Oh
like a
yeah.
comedy. You know her? Yeah. I mean, every late night show.
Oh yeah, she's hilarious.
She's the best. And I had and she came out and she was talking about Eddie Ift, who's another comedy store guy from the other side of the country in LA. And they went on a military tour like 25 years ago together. And they still have like war stories, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And they're like best friends from it. Like they really bonded during that time. So
well,
I
you have to,
really,
you know what I mean? It's like you're gonna have to. I mean, it's like being in the military for about a few weeks. You know, you're gonna live with people that maybe you don't want to live with. You're gonna be very close. You're gonna get very intimate.
Yeah, I think they had somebody just bail on the tour halfway through. They just they got upset and they were like, "This isn't for me. I'm leaving."
Wow. See, I think it's gonna be for me. I'm super excited about it just because it's like,
I mean, that's
on the other side of it.
Like,
you
just
know
imagine how much effort it would take to book 17 shows in 21 days in America.
Yeah, well, let someone else do that. And just being a military guy, like, I've been on the other side of those tours, so I'm super excited about it. I think it's gonna be so much fun, and just to be the guy that's on stage as opposed to the guy that's watching it this time.
Yeah. Are all the comics vets?
No, I think I'm the only one.
Okay.
There might be one other one, but I think I'm the only one that's a vet. So, it's just kind of cool, and yeah, I'm super excited about it. I can't wait for November to get here. So
nice.
I'm excited about that one.
Yeah. Okay, so you're full time. Let's dig into that because I think that's pretty unusual.
To be full time?
Yeah. I think for especially at 6 years, that's
yeah. Well, that's something I don't really tell everybody. So
yeah, okay.
You heard it. That's a secret. I've been lying about how long I've been doing comedy for
years.
We
bleeped it out.
Did. I think I started saying 5 years when I was at like 2. Like, it's a weird thing, man. Because if you say too low of a number, people are like, you don't know anything. If you say too high of a number, people are like, why aren't you bigger?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just now getting that. I'm also around 6 years, and I'm starting to feel that pressure.
Yeah.
It used to be it was like too low a number.
Yeah.
And now it's like, really? Like I'm like, I better get some stuff before I hit 10 or around 10. Because I work with people who are like 15 years in.
Yeah.
And I have that attitude. I'm like, oh boy.
Really?
Yeah. You've been doing this 15 years, and I'm giving you French fries and a beer for a 10-minute spot. Yikes.
Well, it was funny because somebody told me the other day, I won't say who it was, but he was like, we were talking about that, and he said, when someone has like a full-time job, he counts that as like that's like the opposite of dog years. So it's like if they've been in 7 years, he counts that as 1 if they were working the whole time. And there's some truth to that. I mean, I think it's probably an exaggeration, but there's truth to that. Like it's just hard to focus on it, while you're trying to focus on a real job and stuff like that. So yeah,
I don't know if other people would agree with this, but I also think there's a period, maybe somewhere between 3 and 6 years, where you have a good 15 minutes, and some people just coast on that. Can coast on that for like a decade.
Yeah,
and that's all they do. You see them a few years later, they're still doing the same jokes, and
yeah, you're like, hey man, have you grown at all? Like,
yeah,
that's true. I mean, but
because you definitely, almost everybody who makes it 5 or 6 years, they're paddling furiously the first year or two. They're going to like every open mic. They're obsessed with it. They're really excited. Almost everybody I know who doesn't quit has this like real drive and energy. But then later on, like you just kind of get better, and you don't have to kill yourself in the same way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I still want to go out every night. It makes me crazy when I'm not going out doing something related to it at night. Like, like tonight we're doing something that's cool. Monday's usually like Monday, I try to kind of take off unless there's something else going on. Right. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I still itch, man. If I'm not out doing something related to comedy, it's like,
do you do a lot of mics still?
I still do. Yeah, for sure. I go and I run one here every Tuesday. So if I'm in town, I'm at that one all the time, and I host that.
How long a time commitment is that?
As far as the mic itself?
Yeah, for you when you're running it, like how early do you get there and when do you leave?
Well, the show starts at 7:30. I try to get there at like 6:30 and get everything set up. Yeah, we got it pretty well handled now, so it's pretty easy. We've been there for 3+ years now, so we got it pretty wide time. My wife does all the really hard work. I let her do all the setup and tear down. She's better at it. She's a German, man. She's really good at like breaking things down and she's got a system. But yeah, so yeah, it's I don't know. That's we end up being there till probably about 10 o'clock at night. So I'm saying I'm
10,
probably there
3.5 hours.
3.5, 4 hours
Yeah.
for a show.
That's a commitment. Thank you for doing that,
Yeah,
man. I
man.
always say the open mic, the people who run open mics are the unheralded heroes of
It is.
comedy.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a thankless job, people, but at the same time, it's like I'll be honest. I didn't necessarily want to run it, and I don't love running the mic. I mean, we do shows at this place too every couple of weeks, and it's great. It's a great room. It's a place called the Electric Palm in Woodbridge. It's so much fun. But it is. I was teaching a class during the pandemic, and Eliza Schlesinger came on and just like guest paneled on our class, and she was talking about. She's like, "Hey, if you want, if you're a couple years into this thing, and you really want to do this, you go start a room." And I'd been thinking about it, like, "Hey, do I know what I'm doing to start an open mic?" And she just, I was teaching this class, and but I'm the one that took it away from there. I was like, "Hey, no, start a room right now. Like, I got to find a room." And
That's
we
incredible. How
started
did
it.
that happen? I just did a show with her like 10
Oh
days
yeah.
ago,
Oh
which is
man.
so random. She was so nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, a person that was actually one of the students that was actually in the class had been a public affairs officer in the military and had met her during an overseas tour, and they had hit it off, and she knew her people and blah blah blah. And next thing you know, she's sitting in her living room on Zoom in this class, and yeah, she was cool as could be. And it was funny. I got the opportunity probably about a year after that to open for Hunter Hill, who usually opens for her. And he's breaking out in his own right now. Super nice, nicest human on the planet, like almost scary nice. He's such a good dude. And it was funny, we were talking about that story, and he texted her like as we're talking. It's like, "Oh, check this out," and she was super gracious about it, super cool. So yeah, it was and it changed.
Love for Eliza.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And, well, it's just
cool.
it's, and I think I honestly, a friend
of mine
just
had a baby. I don't know if you knew that.
Dude, her and Hunter both. They like have their cycles synced up. I don't know how that works, but he just had one too. But yeah, but the open mic is, I think that's the running an open mic. It opened my eyes to a lot of different things, and plus, you're on stage all the time. You're hosting. It helped me with everything. I mean, I think I grew so much hosting an open mic that just hosting in general, that was one of the big things that really helped me get better faster, because it was just.
Did you start the open mic first or the shows?
Open mic. No, we did the open mic. We went to the venue and we're like, "Hey, let us try this for a month for free. You don't have to pay us to do it. We'll just bring some folks in here on a rando Tuesday night." And 2 weeks into it, they're like, "Hey, yep, we want to keep this going." And then they asked us to start doing showcases and asked us to do a second night, which we do like a riff thing just for comics to come in and kind of hang out and do we just draw topics out of a bucket, and then they just got to go, just trying to develop that skill set in some of the younger comics and stuff. So yeah, man, it's kind of blown up there. We had no idea it was going to get to be what it did, and yeah, we love it. We have the best relationship with this venue. I mean, I hear people tell horror stories, and they're great to us, man. They are fabulous. So I got nothing bad to say.
That's awesome.
They're awesome.
That's cool.
It's a lot of fun.
What prompted you to start your first show? Did you start your first show once you were full time, or did you do it before you were full time?
Oh no, I was still. What was I? I think I was still working. Well, I know I was still working when we first started them. They asked us to do one. They asked us to put it together and to see how it would work. And it was we were kind of lucky in the sense because it was the beginning of the end of the pandemic, and so Virginia was open, but DC was still closed, and so it was great. There wasn't a lot of comedy in DC, so it was kind of a perfect time, because I could get people to come down there and do shows that maybe before it was anything wouldn't have necessarily done it, but now it's a name, and the people want to come down and do the show. So yeah, it just kind of, the timing was beautiful for us. It was, we couldn't have asked anything better. So
that's all. Tell me a little bit about the room. How many people does it seat? What do you do for lighting, sound, etc.?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, it's funny because it's a small room. It seats about 70 on a Friday night. That's what we'll get in there. Then we can cram a few more in, but don't tell the fire marshal. But yeah, as far as lighting, it's funny. We went through so many iterations early on with this thing because the room is, it's a rectangular room, but it's at first we were literally clipping the metal shop lights up on the
Yeah,
air
like
conditioner
painting
with
lights, like
yeah,
$10 from
like
Home
we're raising
Depot.
chickens. It was ridiculous, and it worked. But and we
I mean,
didn't
it's
have
better.
stages.
It's so much better than nothing.
Oh yeah,
It's like
dude. I mean,
90% better than nothing.
oh yeah, there's nothing I hate worse than going to a show and having them go, "Well, we don't really have any lighting." Oh, cool. That's gonna get, people don't understand the science of this, man. It's like
Yeah.
you have to have. They got to be dark. You got to be light. You got to have good sound and cram people as close together. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, if you can do that, you'll have a comedy show, or you'll have a hell of a lot better chance at getting a comedy show. And so yeah, it was. We did that for a while, and then. We just bought these little can lights and we're swapping them out with like good lights. But and then one night we went in and we were getting ready to do a show and we had it set up totally wrong. Like in the beginning, it's a lot of trial and error. It was like we have this cool backdrop that would make it at least look like a stage. But then one day we went in on a Friday and we're like, man, I want to flip the room. I want it to be different because the longer room wasn't working really well. It was working fine, but it was like it just didn't feel like a comedy club. You talk like it felt like you're in a hallway. And so we're like, hey, how about we do it sideways? And my wife and I were in there, and I go, well, if we do this, we have to have a stage. We can't set it here. And just the way the room was set up, and she goes, I'll make a stage. I'm like, what? So this was at like 1:00 in the afternoon. We have a show at 8:00. She goes, I'll make a stage. And we go home, and she makes this like cool fold up stage on wheels. Like, what do you do? How do you do this? And now she makes them and sells them to other comics. They're great, but no, I mean it was so yeah, we end up going there and then
So you're wide now, like
yeah
the comedy
it's
cellar
wider. Oh yeah, it's
McDougal.
great. The back row is like 10 yards from the stage, so the further you can't have a bad seat in the place.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I tried to do that for everything. I ran the mic like that where I always had lights. I always had good sound. I always had good lights. Just move the chairs around and get them to feel like a comedy club as much as possible. And I mean, I think it paid off because even the open mic, we get mostly packed houses, which is pretty sweet. Which is
That's awesome.
kind of unheard of.
You ever have any crazy people at your mic? You got any good horror stories?
Yeah, well, we had one people at the mic. This was maybe one of my favorite things that happened. Favorite's probably bad thing to say, but these people decided that day that they were getting a divorce, and they decided that the thing would make things better that day was to go to an open mic comedy show. And that is not a good idea if anybody's thinking about doing that. It's terrible. But yeah, they were fighting like the whole time in the front row, arguing with one another. The guy had another woman there with him. I don't know what the deal was with that.
Oh my gosh!
At one point, the wife's in the bathroom crying. My wife's trying to talk him off the ledge, talk her off the ledge in the bathroom. It was utterly ridiculous. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. You never. That's the beauty of it. You never know what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so yeah, we've gotten people that come in. They just they're loud. They want to help, or hey, I want to be
what
funny.
What about comics?
Well, comics. Yeah. Comics are different. Let's see. No, I love 90% of the comics we have. I love. It's almost become like the second family to us. But there are interesting folks that come in, and I had one guy drop his pants one time and decide like that was going to be his punchline, and I'm like, you'll never go on the stage again. So sorry. Yeah, dude, it's I have one guy, he was an actor, and he had a buddy of his come, but he's like, oh, he's heard my bits, so he decided to launch into a 5-minute dramatic interpretation of some script. I'm like, hey, you got to try to be funny.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That happens in LA a lot. I've been to several mics in LA where people are just lonely and not getting the auditions they want, and they just come up and they just do like 5 minutes of scripted material from doctor, hand me the syringe. And there's like 50 people listening because it's an open mic, and they're thrilled.
And they're just, hey, I have an audience.
I've seen it more than once.
That's funny. I didn't even think that people would do that. Yeah, this dude literally, he just did the same. He did the same thing. Maybe he should move to LA. No, but certainly, the drunks and the high people and stuff like that, they're always interesting. There's one lady that comes to our mic pretty religiously, and she was a massive pain in the ass at first. And she's this older lady. She's hilarious, but she wants to talk all the time. And we finally had to this lady is out there. She's out there. She's fun. But yeah, it's funny now. We know she comes so often, and she uses this vanilla scented lotion. I know when she's come in the room because I can smell her from the stage. I'll be, oh, she's here. All right, cool. I know when they walk in the room.
That's hilarious. We got a comment from North Carolina. I would lose it if I saw that. Talk about misdirection, but not the kind we were used to. I think that's a comment about the actors speaking on stage.
About the actors.
Okay, tell me about, have you run, so that room's about 70 people. What's the biggest show you've ever put on in terms of butts and seats?
Oh, man.
Do you have other venues? Have you done other shows?
The second show I ever produced, I did one at this VFW down the street from me, and it was cool. So like, hey, we're going to do one in the big room. Like, what's the big room? They're like, it seats like, we had like 230 people in there. And that was the second show I'd ever produced. I had no idea.
Wow.
It was a great show. They had a lot of fun.
Paid tickets?
Yeah. Well, so we did members for free because it was at VFW. So we did members free, but then we opened it to the public because we were back in the hall and we could do that. So yeah, dude, it was packed. It was nuts. And I had no idea what I was doing. I was just
did you have good comics?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Nice. It was fun. And that's one thing I'm pretty lucky with. I teach this class out here, and I know a lot of especially veteran comics. So at a veteran venue like that, I can put an all veteran lineup together pretty easy, and they love them, at that point. So, it's a good room. It's a fun spot. So yeah, we're doing some smaller shows there coming up, but yeah, that's probably the biggest one I've ever booked myself as far as
that's
producing.
Incredible. That's great. 200.
Yeah, it was great.
Did they have their own lighting, sound, etc.?
They did have sound, which was fun. They love those cordless mics there, and I won't use them anymore. But the whole time we're like swapping microphones out. But yeah, they did have that, and that was back. And it was funny. The first show I did, I was very adamant about lighting, and I literally took one of those chicken lights, and they installed it. I think it's actually still hanging up in this room where they installed this little chicken light so it would be on the stage. And they're like, it's going to be really bright. Are you sure? I'm like, I'm 100% sure. I want to be blinded. I want to be totally not able to see you guys. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, no, that was a fun spot. That's
amazing. All right, so you've run a ton of shows. What give me like top 2 or 3 lessons you'd give to a newer show producer?
Oh man. Be clear with everything, when talking to the comics. Tell them everything that you need them to know, but in a reasonable way. There's a guy out here that runs shows that we call it his manifesto that he gives people when it's like this thick. Everything that's ever happened in his room, he has like a couple paragraphs about it, so it becomes a manifesto. But just like, hey, this is when to be there. This is what's how much time you're doing. Just the basic stuff, man. I think people are more comfortable if they know what's going on when they walk in a room, and making them comfortable is good. As far as like, I don't know, I think we already hit on it, really. I mean, running a show, running a mic, even, it's like, dude, I try to make it like a show, because I want people to come. I don't want it to just be for comics, because that's lame and it's bad feedback for us, because then you end up with jokes that can only make comics laugh, and that's not good for anybody. But yeah, I think that, and man, just that relationship with the venue is huge. It's so huge.
Yeah.
The first one we had, the guy we had one that was just for a couple months, and his business went under during the pandemic, and he was a jerk. So I was actually pretty happy when his business went under. But it was like, dude, he was a horrible person. But yeah, this venue, they've been so good, and just that relationship. And when we talk all the time about like how to make things better, and so getting in good with them and laying the expectations with the venue so they understand what's going to happen, what it's going to be like. And I think that's the biggest thing. Is it's just always been good with them. And I'll tell you what helped us, honestly, and this isn't something you can plan, but the main bartender at this place had done comedy and hadn't been done comedy for like 10 years. But every time I would say something like, no, we got to cram these seats in closer. And the restaurant manager was like, man, the servers are going to have a hard time. He would be in the background like, no, he's right. They'll figure it out. You know what I mean? So it was really good because they were like, man, it's too dark in here. And we don't want this.
Yeah.
And now they're like putting in blinds to make it darker. They're like, yeah, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to close this wall off to make it even feel more like a comedy club. Cause you know, they've seen the benefits, you know.
That's amazing.
So,
all right,
yeah.
let's switch over to you and your comedy career, and we'll wrap this up pretty soon here. What's like some big goals for the next year?
Oh man. Well, I just filmed the special. Yeah, so I just filmed that.
Where did you film that?
I filmed it in a little club called Church of Satire out in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Love those guys. A lot of fun. I wanted the first one to be at like kind of a smaller, intimate venue. And you know, to be perfectly honest, one that was easier to get to fill. But you know, and I'd done some shows with them before. They're super good people, super cool, and you know, I want to get their backdrop.
How'd you get it taped? Did you tape it or did you pay a company?
So I hired a guy that ended up becoming a good buddy of mine now. Abe Musavi runs Musa Visual Media. I hired him to do all the filming and stuff. And
what was the name of the company again?
Musa, M-U-S-A.
M-U-S-A Media. Okay.
Yeah, super good guy. Yeah, and he's a Marine Corps veteran, and we bumped into each other at my mic. He was taking a class through this nonprofit that I work with, Armed Services Arts Partnership, taking a stand-up class. So he was getting into stand-up, and we started talking, and I was like, yeah, I'm, you know, kicking around. I'm doing this special in a month or two. And, you know, and he's like, yeah, I film. He goes, if you need any advice or anything. I'm like, all right, cool. And then we ended up talking. I was like, I'm hiring you. How about that? You're doing this. And he's awesome. He's
How
awesome.
many cameras?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think he had 5 cameras total. We're not going to use 5. It's a tiny, there's no reason for that. I know we had 6 mics in the crowd. It was crazy. This dude was overkill for sure. But the good news is it even before we filmed it, we got picked up by Comedy Dynamics to distribute it. So yeah,
that's incredible, dude.
Super stoked. Yeah. So we're gonna be that. I'm hoping to get it out by December, you know, by the holidays.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that's doable. We may end up shooting.
How long is it? January, is it edited?
It's
already?
Hour. Yeah. It's in editing right now. So yeah, we filmed 2 nights. I'd seen a couple buddies of mine film specials, and I was like, man, I gotta do 2 nights. I don't want to do one. And I'm so glad we did, because I hadn't had a chance to run that hour for like 2 weeks. And you know, it was a good show, but I felt like I was flubbing words, and you know, it wasn't as crisp as I wanted it to be. So I was so glad we had the second night, and then, you know, hit it the second night the way I wanted to hit it. So it was it was a great experience. I'm super stoked. That's the big
thing. Amazing. Right. How's your are you going to be ready in December with a new hour or
no
half an hour?
No. I got another half hour that is ready. I mean, I got another half hour of good stuff in the can, but you know, it's, you know, still working other stuff to get the new one, new hour out there. So I'm gonna milk this stuff for the next couple of months.
That's amazing. Do you know what the special will be called?
Yeah, it's gonna be yes. I say yes, as long as we don't run into any weird copyright things, which we shouldn't, because I just got my report back today. We're good to go. It's called A Boy Named Shannon, which is my real first name is Shannon. I have a whole joke, you know, a whole bit about being a kid growing up with the name Shannon. You know, before Shannon Sharp was in the NFL and everything was cool. And yeah, so you know, getting feminine products in the mail when I was 13, stuff like that, all the good things. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna call it, is Dewayne White, A Boy Named Shannon. On theaters, probably never, but at some point it'll be.
You can get it on Amazon. In December.
Hopefully in December. Yes.
That's what possibly later this year or next year. Amazing.
Either late this year or very early next year. So that's the big thing that's going on right now.
That's amazing. That's great, man. This is super fun. Where can people find you?
DewayneWhiteComedy.com or on Instagram at White Dewayne Comedy.
Okay, and Dewayne is Dewayne. If you're only listening to this.
Yeah, Dewayne. But yeah, White Dewayne Comedy on the socials, and then DewayneWhiteComedy.com.
Amazing, man. All right. Well, this was a blast. Stick around for a second. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Come back for another episode. Watch the old catalog. And by the way, subscribe. I've never said this before, but I just realized they're running ads on all this stuff, and I'm not getting any money until I hit 500 subscribers, and I'm like 67% of the way there. I picked up like 15 this weekend at shows. Help me out. Tell a friend, subscribe, click. I don't even know where the subscribe button is, but find it, subscribe. Mark Masters Comedy. I'll get better at this
Down
eventually.
there somewhere. Down
All right,
there.
you guys rule. We're gonna end this.